Well, good morning, everybody. It is Saturday, and as you can tell, I am coming to you this morning from the parsonage rather than from my office. And Alfie is going to come in and help me, I guess, with this devotion today. So, it is Saturday, May 29th, and I apologize, the girls may bark. Gail ran off to Omaha for some business today, and I didn't go with her because I don't quite have the lung capacity for riding in the car for all those hours. So anyway, we are in Acts chapter 17. We're going to look at verses 16 to 21 today. This will probably be a fairly short one. If you recall, Paul's gotten in all kinds of trouble in Thessalonica and Berea, and now they've taken just Paul. They left Timothy and Silas behind, and they've taken just Paul and taken him to Athens. My first question about this is, who really thought this was a good idea to take Paul all by himself to Athens, the epitome of the Greek world, place that's hustling and bustling? I guess perhaps they maybe thought he'd get lost in the crowd and nobody would notice him. But it seems like a thoroughly bad idea to take Paul there. Somebody must be walking by. Again, I apologize for the girls. Allow me to close the door. Hopefully that will cut down the volume of the girls a little bit. Pansy feels like she has to protect the house if somebody walks by. Anyway, let's look at Acts 17, verses 16 to 21. While Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was deeply distressed to see that the city was full of idols. So he argued in the synagogue with the Jews and the devout persons, and also in the marketplace every day with those who happened to be there. Also, some Epicurean and Stoic philosophers debated with him. Some said, excuse me, what does this babbler want to say? Others said, he seems to be a proclaimer of foreign divinities. This was because he was telling the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. So they took him and brought him to the Areopagus and asked him, may we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting? It sounds rather strange to us, so we would like to know what it means. Now, all the Athenians and the foreigners living there would spend their time in nothing but telling or hearing something new. Okay, first of all, they left Paul there by himself. What's he do? He goes and finds a synagogue, and he's preaching. You can't stop Paul. He's preaching in the synagogues. But because of all of these idols and all of this debauchery that he sees, he is deeply distressed, it says in the NRSV. That's the place where the NRSV kind of gets a little short there. Most other translations translate it as provoked. And provoked is a stronger word than deeply distressed. It's actually the Greek word paroxeno. It means to sharpen, to stimulate, to provoke. It means to arouse anger. So Paul's angry about all these idols. So not only is he just going to the synagogues to preach during the Sabbath days, he's also going to the marketplace. And he is engaging people on the streets. And there he's running into these some of these Epicureans and the Stoic philosophers. Now, the Epicurean and the Stoics are considerably different. Epicurean is a word you'll see it on cookbooks and things about living the good life, kind of a thing, highbrow type things. Epicurean means is to enjoy life. It's eat, drink, and be merry. It's about they didn't believe in an afterlife. They didn't have a moral code, actually. Anything for pleasure, anything and everything. So that's in a nutshell Epicureanism. Stoics, kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, high moral standards. You basically squelch emotion in Epicurean or in the Stoic philosophy. You are not affected by things of this world. Pleasure, pain, those things you try to isolate them. They highly prize logic above all else. So they call him a babbler. They seem to be agreeing on one thing. Paul's a babbler. Well, that word there that they translate as babbler can mean babbler. It can mean someone that spreads rumors, gossip. But it literally is a seed picker. It's someone that's picking up scraps of knowledge, is what the idea is. And so that's an interesting thing to accuse Paul of, because they're in this place where you go to the Areopagus, which means, Areopagus actually means Acres Hill, or Hill of Acres, or Mars Hill. And Mars Hill, there are lots of churches out there. One that's defunct now that we won't talk about, mega church, that was called Mars Hill. It's a fairly common thing. This is where Mars Hill has come from, okay? The Areopagus, Paul talking to the people of Athens, the leaders of Athens. This is where they had their high court. But it's also where they just got together and discussed things. It's like a TED Talk. Some liken it to. They call this Paul's TED Talk. Some folks do. So he gets up there and he, of course, is presenting his case. And we'll talk about that more on Monday. We'll leave that to Monday. But what's going on here is you've got these people that love to look at everything new, everything shiny and new, and they want to look at all of the latest stuff. And they're going to kind of pick and choose, unfortunately. And they're accusing Paul, like I was saying, of being picking up scraps of knowledge. And of course, the Epicureans and the Stoics would look down on these other folks that were picking up scraps of knowledge. But that's a fairly common thing, apparently, in this place. And it's a common thing today. We run into this today. When you're out presenting the scripture, you're going to run into a lot of people who have picked up bits of Christianity, bits of this, bits of that, and they smoosh it together and come up with something they like. I probably have told the story before. There used to be in Omaha, just down from our gallery, there was a place, as among other things, they taught classes on different things, such as drum circles and different things. But they taught a class on religion. And it was taught by the owner of it, and his nickname was Pete. And it was, I looked at the syllabus for it at one time, and it was a mishmash of, he was a karate person. It was a mixture of Japanese and Korean religions, a mix of Hinduism, Buddhism, a Native American. He was claimed to be part Native American. I don't really buy that because so many of his other claims didn't hold water. I didn't believe that one either. But he had Native American religions, some Christianity, some you name it, thrown together. And I always kind of laughingly called that class Religion by Pete. And that's a lot of folks' religion, is religion by whatever. And they've picked and chosen from among, they're not just cafeteria Catholics, as they, that old saying, where they pick and choose, but they're picking and choosing among different religions, folks, and mushing it together. And so you're going to encounter that while you're out there talking to people about Christ. And I guess the way to be is stoic when you're talking to them and not get emotional about it, but try your best to lead them away from that thinking, because that's wrong thinking. That's incorrect teaching. There is but one gospel, the gospel of Christ. So we need to do our best as followers, as teachers, all of us, of the Christian faith, do our best to lead those folks away from those false teachings, those pickers of scraps of knowledge. Those babblers is what the Stoics and Epicureans were calling Paul. And again, that unfortunately it applied to a lot of other folks, not to Paul. That was a bad title to give to Paul. But they were just beginning to listen to him. They hadn't really figured it out. So with that, I'm going to let you go for the day. Have a wonderful weekend. Tomorrow we have church, 10 o'clock. We get a live stream, or you're welcome to come join us live in the sanctuary. We do have a special thing coming up on the 13th of June. I'm going to start pushing it. A Church Appreciation Sunday, and we have a guest speaker, Jim Mullen, who is part of the Billy Graham Crusade, is going to be in town visiting a friend, Gary Dooley, and we are going to be blessed to have him speaking for us that Sunday, and we'll follow that Sunday service with a potluck. So, hey, come listen to a Billy Graham preacher and potluck as well. So with that, we'll let you go. See you tomorrow, 10 o'clock, and Monday back here at 9. I'll be in my office, so most likely. Have a blessed weekend and be a blessing to someone today. See y'all later. Bye-bye.